and welcome to This Week at the Movies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Hal Jordan.
I,
That's
I
not the
no,
camera. I looked right in my microphone.
no need to ask if you've seen Lanterns, I guess. No. Maybe we can talk a little Lanterns at the end here, but there's actually August is a packed week or a packed month for new releases. There is like a handful of new releases getting dumped out every week. Same is going to be true for the last week in August next week, but there are 4 kind of wide releases that went wide this week. I've seen them all, and they're all pretty good, which never happens. But we're going to kick things off by going to a world of magic, and that is the Magic Faraway tree. This one is based on the book series by Enid Blyton, a kind of a British book series, a British film. This movie actually opened in the winter spring in the UK because I have a critic friend who was over there that asked me if I had seen it. I'm like, never even heard of it. And that was back in February. Finally getting a release here. It has a pretty loaded cast. You can see Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy in there, Rebecca Ferguson. There are a whole bunch. It is kind of like a children's movie. I guess at times I felt like it's probably a book series kind of similar to like the Narnia book series, where you have a grounded real world story, although not set in World War II and not meant to be an allegory for the Bible. But a couple of beleaguered parents who are trying to get things going, trying to follow their dream to grow tomatoes and bottle their own tomato sauce in the English countryside, like you do. And the kids find a magic portal to a magic land that has fairies and different elements and different things. And there's kind of like an evil schoolmarm looking queen in one of them, and that's what Rebecca Ferguson plays. So a lot of famous adult actors that might be a hook for audiences that are like mine and Eric's age, but they aren't the primary focus of the movie. I had a lot of fun with this. I'm giving this one a mild thumbs up. I wouldn't mind seeing more. I think they set up where they could do more. I know it's a series of books that has more. I actually think I saw somewhere they've already greenlit the Magic Faraway Tree 2 in England. So who knows how long we'll get there. I'll be curious to see how domestic audiences react to this. On the one hand, we haven't gotten a lot of family-friendly releases this month. I think still the biggest kids movie that is out there is Toy Story 5, which is way back from June. But on the other hand, this kind of getting unceremoniously dumped in a weird spot where people are back to school and maybe not going to the movies as much, and it's competing with a million other things. I don't know what to make of this release. I enjoyed it. It was kind of surprising in the way I enjoyed it, but I don't know how well it's going to do here.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what the budget for this was, because
let me see if I have it listed.
Yeah, I think obviously this is the kind of thing that I feel like it's like you hope people will go back to stories like this and stuff, but audiences just aren't. I don't think it's an IP I've ever heard of here in the States, So, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting particularly for this cast. The performances range, kind of like last week, from like being taken very seriously to being taken in the like fantasy storybook kind of thing. And in that vein, I think the person who goes fantasy storybook the hardest and was the most enjoyable was Rebecca Ferguson, and the actor who embodied like taking it like deathly seriously, at least in performance, not like as a character, was Andrew Garfield. And love Andrew Garfield. I love you out there.
He's just had such an interesting career. Like we talked about this last week. He's never been bad in a movie. I think the week we really need to do the Andrew Garfield Hall of Fame is mid-September, because did you know that he is the headliner in a movie directed by Paul Greengrass that I have yet to see a trailer for that opens in less than a month? I mean, you would think
You haven't
the
seen?
names combined. I've been to 3 theatrical releases this weekend. I have not seen a trailer for this.
This weekend alone, like that's the thing. We
Yeah.
when we saw Spider-Man, we saw the trailer. Um
Oh, it
and
wasn't
I've
in
seen it one
front.
other time. I don't remember when. But yeah, I like based on the poster and like Paul Greengrass for me, it's like I completely acknowledge the successes of like his filmmaking style, what he did for action movies, all that Jason Bourne like history and all that kind of stuff. But like it's not like a particular draw. But I was like, okay, Andrew Garfield's in it, but like the trailer really sold me on that movie. Like that, it's very much like we've had enough of oppression from the king, rise up, revolt. And there's this interesting take where it doesn't seem like it's just necessarily good versus evil. It seems like there's this very young, privileged king who's like genuinely concerned with like this is what the people want. What do I do as a leader here? And meanwhile, Andrew Garfield's leading the revolt, and it's just it looks really cool. Um, it just says that like grounded gray, muddy sort of aesthetic to it, where you like, you know, so yeah, Andrew Garfield, he does what he wants to do. I still want to watch. I think it's recorded somewhere on like a National Theater app or something like that. But I really want to watch the entirety of Angels in America with him. Like I keep seeing clips of that. Um, but no, yeah, the Faraway Magical Tree, solid thumbs up. Um, it builds slowly. It's not with the language of like a fast pace. Like it feels like a movie that was made at least 10, 15 years ago. And except for in one area which irks me, which is the art and the costuming. I understand the appeal of going like fantasy and going like untouched and whatnot, but there's this thing that I can't unsee in like modern TV and medias where the costumes all look like they were just bought from a store and just put on. They don't feel lived in. It looks like kind of a stage play. And I just wish there was a little more texture or grit or grime or stuff. Like they live in the woods, you know. Like I wish there was something more to it for that aesthetic. Like Moonface, I love Moonface, great performance, but like they need to work on the wig. I get the look, but it's just that's guy in a wig. Like
Well,
it doesn't feel like a mythical
and to answer your question,
creature.
from what I see, the budget is estimated to have
Budget,
been between 35 and 80 million dollars, which is not cheap.
not a lot for
They
this kind
said
of thing.
the final official production cost hasn't been disclosed. It was independently financed kind of in the UK. It grossed 32 million worldwide prior to opening
So
here,
far,
which
yeah,
again is not incredibly high.
not great.
Mostly it says pulling that box office in the UK and Australia, which would kind of make sense. Apparently, they said 2 sequels have already been greenlit. I don't see them listed though in Internet Movie Database, and things get greenlit for second seasons or sequels all the time that don't happen. Just ask Wonder
Yeah.
Man.
I mean,
So
if someone is gambling on like the build of interest, like the first movie doesn't do that well, but once it's a sequel, people are like, oh, this is a franchise. You get that Enola Holmes build on Netflix and stuff like that. I mean, they don't release their numbers like that, but maybe. But that is what I was
But
looking for.
Enola
So
Holmes
budget
generated
wise,
some cultural buzz. That's where,
when it came out, yeah,
if you really wanted this one to hit, I don't know when. I guess I don't know when I would have released it. I think it's weird that there was such an
oh, a
incredible
holiday,
lag between the UK and here
yeah,
being a release. But
Memorial
and
Day,
maybe they thought August was going to end up being a good spot, but it feels like everything cleared out of June and July because of Disclosure Day and Toy Story 5 and The Odyssey and Spider-Man. They were like, nah, nothing's going to go. And in August, it's been like, hey, do you want 27 releases a weekend? bang, you got it. And like from our standpoint too, like if you're gonna have kids movies or movies where you want that kids audience, I don't know if the first weekend of school is the time to hammer that home, because I'm sure your kids have been the same way. I always laugh when I asked a coworker, I'm like, how's the first week of school been? Well, they come home every day and they go to sleep at 6 o'clock because they're exhausted.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if this was also like 10 years ago, it would have a standard theatrical release, which would allow it to gain some word of mouth. I give it 2 weeks before this is dumped on VOD.
Well, it's got to be ready for VOD. It's probably already on VOD in England because of how close
Yeah,
it is.
because it's
I
been
more
out.
question, like, if it doesn't make double digit millions this weekend, which I think is far from a lock, it's probably out of the theater by next weekend, because we, no joke, had
Yeah,
4 wide releases this week, and there are 3 more wide releases next week. And we had 2 or 3 wide releases plus limited releases that are expanding. I guess one of the ones I'm counting as a wide release this week is a limited that expanded, but this is the week you would have seen it in theater. And so that's just a lot of, and Brand New Day and the Odyssey are still making the most money. So you're not really ripping them off screen. So you're taking 4 to 5 screens per theater for 2 movies from July. So that becomes some precious. There are things that open the first weekend in August that ain't in theaters right now. And I think Faraway Tree is, I didn't mind it, but I could see it very easily slipping that way. Oop, something happened. Well, while we wait for Eric to bounce back, I don't see you yet. Wait for you to bounce back. As I mentioned, there were a lot of things that were released this week. When he pops back up, I will get to our very exciting question of the week: explain a movie plot poorly. So I will give you this clue before I go into some of the other releases. The clue for this week: a disabled woman teaches a man in a pork pie hat to read. So that should be a fun one. But as we're talking about some other releases that are out, one of the ones that is probably the biggest release this week is Insidious: Out of the Further, probably the biggest marketed wide release. And there certainly would have been a time period in which this would have probably been the predominant movie that we talked about for the week. But neither Eric or I was real excited about this 6th installment in the Insidious franchise. We know that we're finally, for once and for all, really moving away from the original family and characters that were at the heart of the franchise. Their story got wrapped up in the last sequel. And so I had very low expectations for this. This one follows a young woman named Gemma, played by Amelia Eve, who is a single mom that has kind of a tragic backstory about things that happened with her own mother. And she starts having these visions that maybe are dreams, that are certainly creepy, that leave her wondering what's going on. She gets connected in one of those visions to Elise, played by Lynn Shay, who is a long-running character from the Insidious franchise, who begins to explain things to her. And she realizes she's going into the further, and she has a special ability or power that she can bring things back. And so a malevolent spirit demon who is in there, who was a failed cult leader that wants to bring his cult back to life, is trying to ride her back into the real world. There's a lot of other things that happen. I had sub-basement expectations. I believe when I was on my way to see this on Thursday night, I asked you to pray for me because I did not think this was going to be good. And it was much better than expected. I am giving this one a mild thumbs up. There are some deeply unsettling visuals in here. I think that is a big shout out to Jacob Chase, who co-wrote this. Based on some ideas and scripts with other people, but is also the director. It is deeply unsettling. There are some incredibly creepy visuals and performances. I thought Lin Shaye was good here as Elise. Sam Spruell, who plays the primary villain in here, is deeply unsettling. So are his three aging acolytes who are kind of following our young heroine around. But a big shout out to Amelia Eve, not an easy part. I don't remember seeing her in a bunch of stuff. I really thought she captured my attention here. I had no expectations. And this one was borderline traumatizing from some of the visuals, which I don't say lightly. I definitely got pulled into it. It's not a bad watch either. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes, so they don't waste a lot of time. But a late summer horror film, I could actually see this one doing decently at theaters because horror films always seem to pull. Franchise horror films always seem to pull, and I think this one is going to generate some positive word of mouth. I immediately went to Letterboxd and saw a bunch of people having a similar reaction to me, like, "Oh, I did not expect this to be good," and I really enjoyed it. Which I don't know what that says about the state of the Insidious franchise, but this certainly will get things on an interesting path. So I want to make sure before I do the next one. Did you hear the clue I gave you? Okay. So
the Wi-Fi. This is why I love Ethernet. I'm taking a shot here, but I gotta fix. There's a Wi-Fi extender that is shifty out here. I have to call and actually get it fixed. Like I've just been missing it. I wanted to say real quick, I got the Odyssey IMAX camera. That's what happened. I tried to switch my camera to the front view that's not wide, and then everything went blah. But way too expensive. Probably as expensive as paying for 2 tickets to go see the Odyssey and IMAX. But I'm gonna do like a thing with it, fill it with like a bunch of Blockbuster icons or whatever. Point is, we tried to see the Odyssey in IMAX. The 3:00 a.m. showing had 4 seats that were all in the.
I know people are still going. It's now the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. Spider-Man: Brand New Day vaulted above all the other Spider-Mans, and looks like it's going to start catching some Star Wars movies. It's over $2 billion. Those movies are runaway trains. But Toy Story 5 crossed $1 billion. There's another one from just just a little bit before it in summer that crossed $1 billion. We've had 5 movies go into the billion territory. That is, and we have
pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah, and it's been an explosion, which is what makes it hard for almost all the movies we're talking about this weekend to stick if they don't do well their first week. Because next week you have Ridley Scott's The Dog Stars, Coyote versus Acme, and then a British rom-com called Finding Emily, I know, are opening. There's another wide release this weekend I hadn't even gotten to called Mutiny from Jason Statham, and I feel like Prime Video is preparing for it to not do well in the theater because they accidentally dropped it online for a couple of hours on their service, but before it released in the theater. But I just don't. There's too many things going out. Like I talked about Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma last week, but it went wider here now. It's playing here, but. And everybody I've seen online that are like, if you love this or if you're excited for this, you need to go this weekend or it's going to be gone because there won't be enough screens. And I think that is a legitimate concern. But let me read you this clip, and then I will talk about another limited that went wide this week. A disabled woman teaches a man in a pork pie hat to read. Good luck.
Immediately give me the hint. No, come on.
The hint is she's a painter. I'm not sure that's going to help.
What?
The movie's from the 90s. Another film that went wide this week that actually technically got a limited release on August 7th and was the mystery movie at all theater chains on August 10th is Tony. This one comes from Matt Johnson, who co-wrote the screenplay. He did Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which came out earlier this year. Blackberry, a movie I enjoyed quite a bit from a couple of years ago. This one is based on one summer that was kind of quintessential for the great Anthony Bourdain, here portrayed by Dominic Sessa. He was a student at Vassar College, a little bit full of himself, planning on being a writer. He ends up following a girl, Nancy, played by Amelia Jones, out to Provincetown for the summer where things do not go as planned. And he ends up working in a kitchen for a chef played by Antonio Banderas and finding something of a passion and a true calling. Anthony Bourdain, just this kind of larger than life figure, remains a larger than life figure for his contributions in a lot of different areas and in media. So people are always going to be very interested. This movie is loosely adapted from a couple of the chapters at the beginning of Kitchen Confidential, which is the book he wrote about his experiences. I thought Dominic Sessa was very good here. I enjoyed Amelia Jones. Leo Woodall is in here. Antonio Banderas. This one had a nice flow. I enjoyed Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which I saw a little bit earlier this year. It is now on streaming. I believe it's on Hulu, so you can stream it for if you have a Hulu subscription. This one, a little bit different, maybe a little bit more dramatic. You can see kind of the things that are going to come to define some of his life. This is a place where he first gets introduced to culinary arts in the kitchen, which is something that we know Bourdain pursued in addition to circling back to becoming a writer. You also see some of the demons that are gonna dog him. This was a summer when he first got introduced to cocaine in the workplace and alcohol and some of the other things. It's a great performance. Dominic Sessa has stealthily been really watchable in a wide variety of different movies. He was kind of one of the more fun parts of the most recent Now You See Me releases, which was, I believe, last fall, if I remember, or in the spring. It kind of came and went, much like I'm guessing many of the releases this weekend are going to come and go. I also think of him, obviously, from The Holdovers, which kind of probably is one of the first ones that put him on the map. I thought he was really good here. I love Amelia Jones, Coda, one of my all-time favorite movies. I am glad to see her in a different kind of a part and just out there. She was incredible in the HBO drama, and I'm going to Task. She continues to show a lot of range, doing a lot of different parts. A lot of fun with Antonio Banderas here. This one, a solid thumbs up. This is the movie I like the best of all the ones that are opening this weekend. Not a bad option, but you've seen we have a family-friendly option. We have a horror movie option. I would call this kind of the adult drama option. And then if you're looking for more of an adult comedy or maybe a date night movie, we also have Spa Weekend, which I saw this as, ironically, on a date night with my wife yesterday. This one is the latest comedy from John Lucas and Scott Moore. They wrote The Hangover. They were the writer-directors of the Bad Moms franchise and Office, Christmas Party, which is another movie my wife really loves. This is about a group of friends who grew up, became friends when they were young teens, and have tried to maintain that friendship into adulthood. The primary focus is Jane, played by Leslie Mann, who's a single mom and a working lawyer. Coco, Michelle Buteau, who is going through a divorce and trying to manage some of her anger issues. Sophie, played by Anna Faris, who is married but has a really unfulfilling job. They decide that they're going to go away for a spa weekend. They decide not to invite their fourth friend, Mel, played by Isla Fisher, who is kind of the wild child of the group. I think everyone has had that one friend who they're the life of the party, but you know what? Sometimes that party turns into a rager that you're not prepared for. Well, Sophie feels bad about it, invites Mel anyway. She shows up, and as you can imagine, the weekend quickly goes off the rails. Hilarity ensues. There are a lot of fun moments. There are a lot of fun jokes. This one is a crisp 97 minutes, so it doesn't wear out its welcome. I like the ladies who are the leads here. I think they do a nice job. There is a lot of fun and pretty funny and over-the-top sequences, some pretty fun and funny moments. You can tell that the cast got along and had a good rapport together. I think Leslie Mann is an underrated comedy star. Every time I've seen her in a movie, she just she's fun and easily watchable. I thought Michelle Bateau was very good in this as well. They were kind of more of the leads. Isla Fisher, back to more of that wild and crazy part that kind of defines some of her earlier work, and so that was a lot of fun here too. Given this one a thumbs up, solid date night movie. Not the best from Lucas and Moore. You know, I like both of the Bad Moms movies and Office Christmas Party a little bit more than this. Obviously, the first Hangover is iconic, and the other two, which I think they just have character writing credits, are trash. But I had fun with this one, and as you can see, it was an incredibly diverse weekend of films. So, a disabled artist teaching a man in a pork pie hat. It is a 90s movie. I will tell you it's a Johnny Depp movie. I don't know if that'll help you. I know it's shocking to think that Johnny Depp would have played a wild character in a film. I can't hear you.
I muted myself. What's the hint again?
She's a painter.
Chocolat?
No, I don't even remember there being reading, and he doesn't wear a pork pie hat in that. It's Benny and June. Mary Stuart Masterson, I believe. Yeah, he definitely wears a pork pie.
Oh, so you have pork pie hat. That's a pork pie hat. I was like,
Chocolat also came out in 2000, so some people 90s. Consider that the 90s, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. I
love this movie. So this is the movie.
That makes it even more frustrating.
I know, it's so sad. But no, now I have to say, for those of you out there who are like, there's this joke in Community. Have you watched Community?
Not really.
Okay. There's a guy who rambles. There's this whole episode centered around, is Nicolas Cage a good actor or a bad actor? Making this case for like, he's Oscar winner, but he makes crap. Like, there's some logic to it. Maybe like he acts crazy in bad movies just to make money. He does art, like whatever. The point is, everyone fits into a category, and the little ramble he goes on is all actors are good, some actors are bad. Van Damme is like the good kind of bad, and Johnny Depp is like the bad kind of good. And so I think a lot of people had that opinion. Controversy completely aside, ignore all that for a minute. A bunch of people are like, oh, Johnny Depp's like a performative actor or whatever, underrated or whatever. If you are confused ever about why people like Johnny Depp, watch Benny and June, because he is absolutely shamelessly in love with Charlie Chaplin. That is what he is doing. He is Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. Once you see this movie, The Lone Ranger makes sense. The Pirates movies make sense. Everything Johnny Depp does makes sense. If he could have acted during the silent film era, I think he would have loved it even more than he's done now. This movie is like a 90s. This deserves to be a classic. I cannot.
And it was in that kind of range. It's not that long after Edward Scissorhands. It was a year before he made Ed Wood. It was kind of in that range where if you wanted a quirky, engaging kind of thing. I think he made Don Juan DeMarco in that range. What's Eating Gilbert Grape's in that range.
Gilbert Grape was in this range. And Gilbert Grape, he plays a straight acting role. And it almost made him quit acting. Then he discovered Tim Burton and got to do more of this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, that's the two things you need to know about Johnny Depp is look at his interviews about Gilbert Grape and then watch this movie. And everything makes sense.
Well, let's wrap up by moving back to HBO. They went from House of the Dragon, which was something we were both watching, to Lanterns, which is something we are both watching. You had me at Damon Lindelof, who is a co-creator, co-writer here with Chris Mundy and Tom King. This is in James Gunn's DC, but it really doesn't feel like James Gunn's DC, to which I say thank God. It focuses on, we are going to see 3 of the Green Lanterns, including Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner, who is not in this premiere, who we know is kind of the Gunverse Green Lantern. But here we get an aging Hal Jordan, played by Kyle Chandler, who can do no wrong. It's good to see Coach back out there. living his best life, and Aaron Pierre, who plays Jon Stewart. And this one takes place, we see 3 different time periods in the pilot. We start in 1996 when a young Jon Stewart is being molded by his father in, shall we say, some unique parenting opportunity ways. It was quite a way to kickstart some things, and sees Hal Jordan when he has just burst onto the scene as the Green Lantern, kind of cutting a heroic figure as a test pilot. And then we jump to 2016, where Stewart has been tapped to be his protege and the future Green Lantern for Earth. And Hal Jordan remains wildly popular with the masses, but will charitably say is a little burned out in his approach to the role. They end up on a case in Nebraska. Some aliens might be there. Kelly MacDonald is there. Garrett Dillahunt is there. Jason Ritter is there. I won't do the math and try and figure out how they think they can sell me on Garrett Dillahunt being Jason Ritter's father. And Kelly MacDonald being the daughter-in-law / wife. I had questions, and then we end getting a glimpse of 2026 and a little bit of a darker future. I remember someone saying this was What If True Detective, but in the DC universe, and I think that is both apt and a fun way to describe this. I thought the pilot was a kick in the pants. I'm very excited to see where we go on this 8-episode journey. Damon Lindelof's sequel series to Watchmen remains one of the finest things HBO has ever done. His work on The Leftovers, that is my favorite show of all time. I think he is fantastic in the TV medium, working here with Mundy on a fun concept with a really great cast. I'm excited about what's to come. I take it from your opening there that you really enjoyed it as well.
Movies have sort of always led my fandoms in other things. I think movies are like my window into educating myself and interacting with the world. 2 of the biggest things I'm a fan of. Batman obviously came from movies, so that one's like a side. Is Daredevil. I was introduced with the 2003 Ben Affleck movie. I was 12 years old, but that took me into a deep dive of the comics and the character, and great. Green Lantern. This is the 2011 Ryan Reynolds. That movie is awful. It's annoyingly awful.
It's quite bad.
Yeah. Never forget 2001 and 2011. Here's the thing. Hal Jordan has no reason to have a Southern accent, but it's perfect. Like Kyle Chandler, like the writing of the character you always have fearless characters.
Is it really I feel like it's just Kyle Chandler's normal.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
voice.
Yeah, but it's Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and it's just Kyle Chandler, but he is like perfect. Like it's just a marriage of writing Hal Jordan as the guy who will just jump out of a car and say, "Don't die." That's the job. And Kyle Chandler delivering the charm. Like it's so good.
And I forgot Kyle Chandler has actually worked. So a lot of, I would say, the construction and the dark superhero part probably is informed by Lindelof, but the True Detective kind of dark crime aspect is really informed by Mundy, who worked on Criminal Minds, Hell on Wheels, a AMC show called Low Winter Sun, which I had a love-hate relationship to, but he did Bloodline, which is actually a Netflix one that I quite enjoyed that Chandler was in, and Ozark, and actually was a showrunner and writer on the last installment of True Detective, the Night Country season in 2024.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing about this show that we're watching right now, Lanterns, because when Zack Snyder was still like in late stages of like he was producing Wonder Woman and moving on, this show was pitched. It was going to be called Green Lantern Corps. They released some gritty like style footage of Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart standing together, and they announced it as True Detective meets Power Rings. And it's interesting because those scripts, that pitch, someone else tried to come in and pitch, no, let's do like a full Green Lantern now that James Gunn is in the DCU. Let's do a more expensive space opera type of show. And the pushback, this is what I'm interested in with James Gunn, is the scripts for this show are what held him to keeping and approving this show staying what it is and just incorporating it into his universe. So Clayface doesn't look or feel like James Gunn's DCU, but it is. That Clayface he's already announced is the same Clayface, even though that was a story by Mike Flanagan and is scripted by someone else and is aesthetically something else. It's the same Clayface that's in the animated show that they're doing with the
And
villains.
also looks terrible.
Which one, Clayface or the animated show?
Yes.
Okay, so no, so like here's
No, I did see a full trailer for Clayface, and I was like, after I thought Supergirl was pretty good, but it unquestionably bombed incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And probably is a big setback for the DCU. And I thought it was always a wild swing that they were doing that Clayface movie. And the teaser trailer, I was like, I don't know about this. And then I watched the full trailer and I'm like, oh, I do know about this. Now, maybe it'll be an Insidious out of the further level surprise, but I think it looks like a misstep.
Yeah, supposedly the reason other projects like Batman Brave and the Bold and stuff have been delayed is because he wants the script locked, is an inverse to Marvel, who shapes their script as they're making the movie. He wants a good script locked and approved before the movie is made. So
now there's a difference between a locked script
doubts
and a good script.
Well, no,
So
but like
having a lock,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
No, like he's not saying like he's saying it had the like Batman Brave and the Bold has already been rejected once because they read the script and he was like, this just isn't it. This just isn't good enough. But so like these are supposedly like solid enough to get approved.
If that was just not good enough, it makes me wonder because we've seen I wonder if Supergirl, if people are going to come around to it later. It got so savaged, and when I watched it, I hadn't read the reviews and stuff, and I thought, okay, this is better than I was expecting. And maybe it's because people had high expectations, I guess. I had pretty no expectations, and it was better than I was expecting. And maybe that'll happen with Clayface. It was such an odd.
I trust Mike Flanagan, man. Mike
but
Flanagan was gonna direct, but they went to make it too soon. He has all his obligations to the Amazon Stephen King stuff.
Yeah, well, but then it's not his script. His movie.
I mean, it is his story. It's just not his script, like the dialogue and everything, like scripted out. So I don't know, like I think the only opinion I have about the Clayface trailer is that the special effects are really interesting to me because they're keeping it very body horror, but then there are teases that he's doing traditional Clayface stuff, like his silhouette making a big thing.
I know, but the guy that worked on and finished the script, these are the movies that he has done.
Mm-hmm.
The Heath Ledger version of The Four Feathers. Bet you forgot that came out.
I've never heard of that.
Well, I'd say you're missing something, but that would be a lie. Snow White and the Huntsman. 47 money, Ronin, The Snowman, the TV series The Alienist, and the TV series Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would say there's only one thing on here that gives me a glimmer of hope, and that is he also scripted or worked on the screenplay for Drive. But that movie's
I
mostly Nicholas Winding Refn and a feel.
but that's the thing. Almost every movie that you listed was either screwed in editing, like The Snowman, had terrible direction.
It also had a terrible script, like you can tell.
I I mean, like,
Okay,
yes,
well
like
then,
sometimes you can
does
see
this
that
make you
Jenny
feel
can tell, but
any better? The director of this had previously directed a middling horror movie called Eden Lake, a middling horror movie with Daniel Radcliffe called The Woman in Black, a middling
he
horror movie
directed
that we
it.
saw last year called Speak No Evil.
Oh,
That's your
there go
director.
there goes all of my there it goes. All gone.
And maybe that's what I'm feeling in the trailer, but I was like, I watched the trailer and I was like, this ain't it.
I don't know. Like
So we're
I'm
going to
not
cling
even
to
with
lanterns. I just don't know if we're going to get more projects like lanterns. It feels like something different in the best way. It definitely feels more like an HBO Sunday drama, but it's, you know, it's like when we got Penguin. I didn't love Penguin, but that felt like something grittier and apart. And I'll be honest, the whole trying to turn DC closer to the Marvel tone isn't what I'm looking for, because while I like the Marvel movies and I like the lighter comic book jokey Marvel tone, I actually enjoyed the tone and the structure of DC being darker. DC has a little bit darker kind of heroes. The movies that are DC movies that have worked have sunk
Yep.
into those darker tones. There's nothing wrong with doing darker. You don't have to bring like humor and candy color. And honestly, these characters don't let, you know, I don't want to see Batman out there cracking wise with Robin and giving him a high five. That would piss me off. And so that's where like you're trying to jag in a way that you know, you don't want
so
to jag
yeah.
back toward the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. We make jokes about
Yes.
it.
Yes. See, that's the thing. Characters like Superman don't mean as much if they are not the bright light in a contrast of darkness. Like
Mhm.
I 100% agree with
Yeah,
you.
it works okay to have that tone
But
for
in Superman, they
Superman,
tried to
but
make everyone fit that tone. Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific,
well,
Hawk
and
Girl.
that's, you know, I might be out on an island, and you know what? I'm fine with it. But he made his own version of Suicide Squad, and he tried to flip the tone toward more of that jokey collegial tone, and it doesn't work.
Nope.
It did not
I
work.
like
I
2016
actually
better than
like
that.
Suicide Squad
Yeah.
from David Ayers better because that more befit the idea. And
And
I
just
know
straight
that
up,
most people are like, you're high. No, there's a
no.
style I am looking for. There's something that I am looking for, and I don't want a homogenous sameness to everything.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
I mean, you don't want
I
to go
agree.
too far and make Morbius, but
Oh, good gosh.
I am excited for Lanterns. I think there's a lot of good potential there.
I Jared Leto's Joker, you can miss me. Like, I don't care. I don't like him at all. Like, but it's not really an issue. I would really like to see the air cut of Suicide Squad just to fill in the gaps of how that was going. You know, like that was going to be the introduction of what's his name? Not Darkseid, the villain in Justice League who looked
Oh,
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf, yeah.
Yeah, he was gonna show up, and the MacGuffin of Suicide Squad as they were making it was one of the mother boxes. Like it was a part. Like there's like stuff behind the scenes. Like that
And
was. I'd
Margot
like to
Robbie,
see that
I was on the
get done.
train that her
Oh, she
Harley
feels more like a
Quinn
person in Suicide Squad than
should have
in the
been
Suicide.
an Academy Award nominee for Best Supporting Actress. She was great in that, and Will Smith's character was great, and it had a gritty tone, and you could tell he didn't really want any part of that, because what he did with Harley Quinn when he couldn't kill her off, but was vastly different. And then to have just killed Joel Edgerton's character like that, and then later to use it as like a prop device.
That's the thing. James Gunn does not care about the characters he does not care about. And it's like, then why are you in charge? Like, what? Like, just make the movies you want to make. Don't be in charge of everything like that. But he is supposed, like, here we get lanterns because he's hand off. So I don't know. We'll see.
But you're right. Left Lake of Lanterns was already in the pipe and was going. I probably need to watch the Suicide Squad movies back to back again. I was just so annoyed with, and that was a weird error too. I remember the Suicide Squad dropping. I'm pretty sure it dropped straight to streaming. I remember watching it at my house, and it was 2021, so it was probably.
I didn't see it in theaters.
That was in that era where Warner Brothers was dumping a lot of things straight to stream. That's actually where I saw it first doing my house too, because you can go mask up, stand in line, get a pat down and a swab, and go see it in the theater. I can just boot it on 6 a.m. when I'm awake, just as Dennis Villeneuve always intended. So, any other Lantern thoughts or movie weekend thoughts? Did you see anything classic you want to shout out?
Benny and June. No. What if I had watched it like yesterday?
Well, I see, and I didn't know it was a personal favorite. I thought, oh, this is kind of an eclectic title. I should have known that you would know. You would have liked it. I own it too, but I looked at it. I'm like, well, this is an eclectic title. I don't know if he's going to get it, and it's not the greatest. Like,
it was hard to find that on Blu-ray.
Well, and even a movie you love and have seen, that description was not an easy.
No, they're usually so jokey and like, oh, a boat sinks, like, oh, it's Titanic, like that. Like, I just, if I knew what a pork pie hat was, I probably would have gotten it. But yeah.
Well, speaking of James Gunn, next week a movie that he helped work on the screen story for and produced, a little film called Coyote versus Acme. Is out in theaters. I have seen it, so we'll be talking about that. And Ridley Scott's The Dog Stars, which I think both of us are excited about, opens next week. So should be a fun way to wrap up August. And then there are a lot of big releases coming in September. I saw the full trailer for Resident Evil again in front of Insidious. Getting excited about that. If you're a Practical Magic fan, the sequel comes out in September, ironically coming out on September 11th because it is a very patriotic film.
Yep.
So a lot of things coming out in the next few weeks. It should be fun to catch. Until then, we will see you guys at the movies.